Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be doing a mid-month wrap-up for February. I have not done one of these before, but I have been reading so many books that the end of the month wrap-up is so long, it takes so long to edit and film. So we're going to try mid-month wrap-ups. Let me know how you feel about them down below. You probably don't care. There are two books from January that I didn't talk about in my January wrap-up because I hadn't read them yet by the time I was filming the video. But the two books that I read were The Initiation by Nikki Sloan. This is like a taboo romance between Marist and Royce, and it is a arranged marriage situation, and it's freaking wild. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The beginning is pretty slow, and it's just like them like going on dates and stuff like that. But when you get to what the initiation is, it's crazy. Basically, the initiation is like Royce wants to become a board member of this like big bank, and to do that, you have to go through an initiation ceremony, which is just crazy. And then I also read From Blood and Ash. I gave 4 out of 5 stars as well. This is about Poppy, it's a fantasy romance. It's about Poppy, who is a maiden, which basically means she has special powers, but she has to wear this veil. No one can see her face, etc., etc. And she gets assigned a guard named Hawk, and they have a romance, and some secrets get uncovered. And this was fast-paced and fun. Didn't love the world building in the way that the info dumping was. I didn't feel like that was necessary or done the very best, but I still really enjoyed the book as a whole. So let's go on to the DNFs that I have had so far. I'm not gonna go too into depth on why I DNF them, but if you have read any of these and you really like them, go ahead and comment down below if I should continue, try to give them another shot. Maybe I will add it to my DNF to possibly try again list. So the first DNF that I had for the month was Desolate by Autumn Gray. This is a future priest childhood crush story. Most of this that I read was set in childhood, and I don't super love romances that are set with children or teenagers. It just is not my thing. Also, the female main character was not really a character. She was just kind of like a sounding board for all of the male's desires and his conflict with what he wanted to do with his life, which just didn't feel great. And then I ended up DNFing The Kingmaker by Kennedy Ryan. I felt like this was more about the activism and the author's beliefs on the subjects that the characters cared about, more so than the romance. And while I agreed with all of the things that the characters were saying, I'm not trying to read about activism in my romances. I don't mind it as a subplot or a plot to the story, but I want there to be romance. Romance itself was instant love, and the sex was not great. So, and then the last thing that I DNF'd was Let Me Love You by Alexandria House. This is a rapper single mom romance, and the writing was just not for me. I didn't love it. It was a lot of telling and not showing, and I didn't like the way that it was written. Let's get on to the stuff that I liked. So I ended up reading 2 novellas that I did not rate because they're really short. The first one was I Think I Might Love You by Christina C. Jones, which is a bad impressions to lovers romance between Caden and Jacqueline. Jacqueline ends up punching him in the face when she uses her sister's apartment that her sister subletted to Caden and she didn't know about, and so she uses the key. He's like, what the fuck are you doing here? And she punches him in the face. And then through a sequence of meet cutes, they run into each other again, and she ends up volunteering at the clinic that he works at, and their relationship goes from there. And I really liked it. I liked the male main character Caden's openness with his feelings for Jacqueline, and I really liked that he was very understanding about the fact that she is convicted, and that doesn't define her, who she is, or her future, and that she shouldn't let that affect how she views herself. And then I also read and didn't rate Uncovered Truths by Alexandria Warren. This is the novella romance between Kendra and Easton, and it's kind of a second chance. They previously had a romance when they worked together, but Kendra was in the midst of a separation, and so she ends up breaking it off, and they meet again in Target, and he invites her to a Super Bowl party, but when she shows up, no one's there, and she ends up getting snowed in, and this is their second chance. Again, I really like that Easton was very flirty and very open about his opinions. Neither of these novellas particularly focus on the sex all that much, so if you're going in just expecting straight smut, neither of these are really for you, but I really enjoyed the relationships. So the next thing that I read was Black Witch Magic by Mila Nix. This is a small town witch paranormal romance between Celine, who is a witch from a cursed line of witches, and Aiden, who is a paranormal investigator with a YouTube channel, and it's a cute romance. I didn't super love the sexy times and the wording and the way like the sex was talked about, but I did like enjoy their romance. They're both kind of nerdy and cute and awkward, and I really liked that. I just didn't love the sex talk. Next up is When Love Ignites by Rosie Adams, which, by the way, cover of the fucking century. Wow. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked this a lot. Rosie Adams can quite literally do no wrong in my eyes. This is the romance between Jasmine and Alec. This is part of her following like a Johnson series, and this follows Jasmine Johnson, the sister, and they are kind of workplace rivals. Alec feels like she is a spoiled brat, and Jasmine just doesn't really understand why he's such an asshole, and then they end up getting paired together for a case, and they kind of come together, they work out their differences, and they have a romance. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars because I felt like the romance was resolved a little too quickly. They got together really quickly, and then it really became about the case that they were working on. But altogether, the actual writing and the relationship was fantastic, and just Rosie Adams is perfection. Then next up, I gave 4 out of 5 stars to Rafi by Rebecca Witherspoon. This is the romance between Rafi and Sloane. Rafi is Sloane's live-in male nanny, and Sloane is a doctor of 2 twins who hires Rafi, and they kind of immediately have this attraction to each other, but Rafi lets her know right off the bat, like, hey, I'm attracted to you, but I'm not gonna let it affect my work. And they kind of start up like a benefits situation where Sloane is like, we can't really have a thing, but of course a actual romance starts up, and it goes from there. I loved Rafi. He is like this big, buff, tall, tattooed guy who is just the biggest cinnamon roll, and I absolutely loved their romance. And then I read The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, which I gave 2 out of 5 stars. This is really touted as like a Knives Out situation, and I completely disagree. This really should have been marketed as a rags to riches story about a teenage girl who gets left billions. There's a very light mystery, and there's a shitty love triangle, and that's all I'm gonna say on that one. I then read Destiny's Surrender by Beverly Jenkins, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. This is the second book in the Destiny's series, and I like this one okay. It follows Billy and Andrew, and Billy is a sex worker who gets pregnant with Andrew's child, and she is escaping some people that are trying to take her child from her, and she goes to Andrew and says, like, take the baby, and they end up working out an agreement, and a romance goes from there. It was just okay. The villain really felt like a cartoon villain, and the point of views are kind of messy. So overall, I just found myself really not caring, and that's that on that. And then I read The Scale by Micaiah Jolie, which I ended up giving 2 out of 5 stars. This is the romance between Minka, who is a struggling, curvy woman who is in love with her sister's fiance, and Jason is an inn owner in Martha's Vineyard where the wedding is occurring. This was a very, very hard read. Minka has a lot of issues with her body and the way that she looks, and that was a really, 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 really prevalent theme in this. She's constantly talking about the way she looks and downing herself, and that was just really, really hard to read. In addition to that, the couple just would not communicate with each other, and they were making decisions by the end of the book that I just didn't agree with a couple that has been together a week and can't communicate. So altogether, it was just not really a good read. And then lastly, for this update, I read Hate by Tate James, which I gave 3 out of 5 stars. This is a messy, trope-filled book following a girl named Madison Kate, who in the beginning of the book gets framed, and when she is sent away, she comes back and has to live with the 3 guys that she thinks framed her, and it is a reverse harem situation. It is messy, it is self-aware, and it is so much fun, and I'm fully excited to continue the series and just get more messiness. And if you decide to pick this up, which I would highly recommend if you're looking for just a fun time, it's on KU, read the author's note because that shit made me cry. That is all the books that I read for this update. I will do a update at the end of the month, just, you know, with the rest of the books that I read this month, but that is going to be it for this video. Make sure you comment down below your thoughts on any of the books that I talked about. What books have you read so far in February? I would love to know. Other than that, that is going to be it, so I will catch you guys in my next one. Thanks so much.